Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Varanormal Friday night broadcast. We do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It streams to Facebook and it streams to YouTube also. Varanormal is a team that is dedicated towards the study of electronics and communication with people in spirit. We use different advanced techniques in our attempts to develop new ways to be able to detect and communicate with people in spirit. Today we're going to be talking with Michael Lee, who is a Varanormal team member. Michael and I have been working together since around November of 2019. The end result of that was growth. We provided moral support for each other, and we would talk to each other about different experiment ideas. That has grown since then, and today we're going to share Michael Lee's work with you. There's something unique about Michael in that he works with artificial intelligence, machine learning. He has these professional skills and he applies them towards the paranormal. The results that we have, that Michael has, are pretty interesting and fantastic, and we're going to share them tonight with you. And then we're going to have a discussion, take some questions for Michael that you can ask them. So as you listen to Michael speak during this interview, please go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and the chat moderators will assist us in determining which question we can present to Michael. After Michael speaks a little bit, and then we present the audio samples. At some point tonight, we will also do what we do best, and that's go to the live stream and listen ourselves. So I'd like to go ahead and welcome Michael Lee. Michael,
Hi,
would you like to
thanks.
give an introduction?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Keith. So Keith is a pretty important part of my work in ITC. I started a few years back, about 2.5 years ago, and I started getting some interesting results, and I was impressed, but I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I asked around other experts in the field, and Keith turns out to be, a very friendly, very supportive, and he and I ended up sort of separately discovered some concepts about what we think is happening in our devices. So we started working together. We've been working in a team. We've from people around the world, especially Germany. And but basically, what I've been doing is I've been taking one of the big advances that I've been working on is using machine learning, which is something that I use in my regular job, and apply it to, for example, noise, and use that to extract out voices. There's been some amazing work done by Grant Reed, who's found that using CRISP software, which is also machine learning, that indeed you can extract out voices from different sound sources that out there. What I'm going to introduce tonight, though, is something a little bit different. So the idea is we're still using noise as our fundamental building block, but we've asked spirits to convert that noise into tones. So I have a program that's essentially interpreting the noise, and depending on when the peaks hit in the noise, they activate tones. And the reason I decided to go this route is because one of the things you'll notice when you try to extract voices from white noise is that some of the higher frequencies get lost. That includes the sibilants and some of the higher frequency formants that produce lettered vowels like E and I sound. So you'll find that your spirits often talk like ooh. Those are the lower frequencies, and so some of the higher frequencies are missing. By giving spirits an opportunity to produce higher frequencies by giving them a tone palette, that should give them a more balanced spectrum to work with to generate sounds. So I've prepared a little recording of how the tone vocoder, you begin with tones, but then you eventually try to reach something that sounds like human speech.
Okay, ready to share that clip, Michael?
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, I'll need to increase the volume. Right. Please give me a thumbs up when you can hear it. First clip.
The base signal of our device is called a tone vocoder, and what this does is it converts white noise into a series of tones. Let's listen to an example. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the tones sound undifferentiated. It is as though we might be listening to a crowd of people. So the first thing we want to do is apply a noise gate that introduces a cadence into the voice. Next, we'd like to take the musical tones and make it sound more like a voice. And the way we do this is we use machine learning, which has been trained to take voices that are musical with tones and turn them into regular sounding voices. Now you'll notice that this does sound a little bit more voice-like, but it sounds ducky, as though we were listening to Donald Duck talking. Why is that? Well, we think this is due to the fact that the ITC signal is actually made up of a very low resolution of bits, as though we were, say, listening to a 1-bit signal. So we can then develop a machine learning model that converts a low-bit signal into a clearer voice. Finally, we can do a few other things like apply a small pitch shift to increase the frequency of the voice.
Okay, Michael. That was pretty interesting. Thank you for putting that together. Would you say that what inspired you to do this, or where did your idea come from?
So I'm aware that in voice compression technology, which is how voice is digitally sent, they use various techniques to simplify the signal, compress the signal so that less data has to be transferred. And there's a lot of cool algorithms out there, but they're very hard to code up. It turns out, though, that one of the earliest algorithms ever invented for conveying voice was using tones. I guess it required, simply like narrow bandpass filters, and they often used it with encryption so that they could send like military signals over. So I thought that using tones would be sort of the easiest method for me and for the spirits. And so what I've heard them use often are terms like mirror, which could be some sort of holographic way that they're converting speech into frequencies. And then also I've heard the term elevator. Now, elevator sounds kind of strange, but it actually makes sense because over time, when the peak occurs, it activates a certain tone going up in frequency. So every, say, like 50 milliseconds, we're going from 40 hertz or 100 hertz up to 4,000 hertz. And so it's kind of like an elevator. So depending on when they click activate, that's when the tone occurs. By the way, this also would explain why sweeping tones works, because what they're essentially doing then is they're pushing the tone when it's at a certain location out through the noise gate to yield the frequency they want.
So your software does a lot of computations. Is that a good summary, or?
Yeah, so there's actually two different things going on with this, which we'll demonstrate tonight. I'm using something called an FPGA, or a field programmable gate array. It sounds fancy, but basically it's a computer that you can configure any way you want to. And the reason I'm using it is not because I'm trying to be a fancy programmer, but it has this really interesting characteristic, which is that you can make programs that don't use a clock. And through that way, you can generate essentially noise, or you can generate basically chaotic signals. And so I'm going to show this to you, and hopefully it doesn't break our stream. Well, let me bring my camera down to show you. But it's basically a board with a chip on it. And I can program this board to yield not just one noise sound source, which is what, say, me and other people in the Varanormal team do, but I can actually generate hundreds of noise sources. And then we can add all of the noise sources together. And the theory is, whether or not it actually works in practice, is that by adding up a bunch of noise sources, the noise volume should only grow as the square root of the number of sources, but the signal, if there is a signal impinging on all the noise sources at the same time, should go as the number of noise sources. And so the idea is that the more sensors you have, or the more noise you generate, theoretically, the more spirit voice we should be able to pick up.
Thank you. That's definitely a very technical explanation. I think we have a couple questions in the chat. First thing I would like to do before we ask the questions, actually, in a minute we should play one of the samples. Somebody said, how long did it take to get where we are? But we haven't yet played a good sample. So first, would you be able to summarize for the average layperson in maybe 2 sentences, what is machine learning?
Okay, so machine learning is asking a computer to figure out how to solve the problem. So the problem, let's say that some people may be familiar with, would be, how do we get a voice from noise? Or what we do then is we ask the computer to solve a problem where we add noise to a voice and then remove that noise without knowing what the noise was. And so the computer then figures out, by trial and error, different ways to try to remove the noise. So that's what machine learning is.
Okay, so in this case, the software is using the calculations that you put in and attempting to derive a voice. Well, because you train it, don't you? Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about training.
Yeah, so I'm actually using a data set of real voices. I'm using something called Libra speech, which is common for audio in the machine learning community, which is basically audiobooks. So I'm training with real people talking audiobooks, but I'm adding noise to that audio, and then I'm asking the computer to remove that noise. And so it's learning how to denoise or remove noise from the signal. But that wouldn't be enough if all you did is remove noise. We're also thinking about, well, what else is being degraded when spirit is talking to us? And so we're trying to then remove different things that we think is happening before the signal reaches us.
So you never actually trained the voice on Donald Duck?
No, but it turns out that low bit resolution voice, in other words, if you were to take a clean voice and convert it to 1 bit, it would sound very ducky. So I kind of just discovered that at some point that that's what it's sounding like. And it kind of makes sense that maybe spirit's signal is more like shot noise, which is basically just like this up and down volume with not many gradations. And that's essentially what we're hearing. And so then I basically came up with a particular model to remove that type of distortion, but it's not perfect. It's very hard to do that perfectly. So you end up removing, say, 3-bit voice. You're taking 3-bit voice and turning it into 3-bit Donald Duck and turning that into a human voice.
Okay, I think we're going to take your word on that.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and proceed and play. We're going to work our way up to the good stuff. I'm going to play a couple clips of Michael's machine learning that I recorded listening to the stream that we're going to listen to today before we get into Michael's clips. Beginning to share now. Share screen, share audio. Here we go. Oops. 1 second. Forgot something. All right. Let's redo. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go back to a question by Kevin, which is actually a really good question. We're going to present it. He says, Michael, how can we determine that it's spirit manipulating the tones, or could it simply be the software itself through processing?
Yes. So actually, a good way of knowing that the code would be working really well is if indeed it produced very clear human speech. And so yes, you would expect that a really good machine learning algorithm should be able to take anything and convert it into something that sounds really solid. So that's one thing. Number two is, well, what I'm listening for is specific is what they're saying. Since we're doing audiobooks, it could be any word in the English language, but I'm typically hearing certain words that I think are appropriate and relevant. Things like spirit or portal, or they often give me the nickname expert. I often hear grandmother and grandfather. Keith and I hear some famous scientists in there too. So yeah, we hear specific words that seem to be relevant and not just random words. So I would agree that generally speaking, if you hear regular English words, that doesn't tell you anything. It would have to be something that actually makes sense for that to be legitimate. But I've been doing this long enough that I'm pretty sure that it's something interesting is going on.
So there's definitely Michael and I have different viewpoints. Would you say, Michael, that your perspective or the methodology that you're taking is you want to be able to detect spirit voices and then basically clean them up to where we can hear the spirit person talking? Is that a good assessment?
Yeah, yeah, and it's possible that in some cases it's detecting nothing or something just random, and then it's trying to convert that in some cases.
And the other thing for the people here joining us is we've done a lot of experiments, and a lot of the information that comes through in Michael's streams is relevant to the individuals that are listening to the stream. So it's usually people's, the names of people that you know, or your animals in the household, your furry friends. It could be what you're working on, what you're thinking about. It could be all kinds of stuff. And then it could just be people talking amongst themselves. So it's pretty interesting. One more question before we play some more clips. Someone asks, can you make this portable for use in the field?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Keith and I were actually discussing this, that there's quite a bit. First thing is there's quite a bit of technology that's being used here. I actually, behind my camera is a nice large GPU computer, a single GPU, but a nice large desktop. So I think things can be done, but I would say probably we're not at the stage yet where, where the quality is good enough where I'd be like, okay, let's go, make a business and miniaturize this stuff. In the meantime, I feel like the best model for now, since the technology is a little bit complex, is to provide basically private channels. So for example, if somebody wanted to be able to use this, maybe they could get a dedicated listening line and no one else be on there at the same time, and then they could listen to the messages. I honestly believe that that the spirit is non-local. As you could be at a site, perhaps you would pick up ghosts at an individual site, but what I'm tuning into, I believe, is the heaven plane, which is you could pick up anywhere.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and play our next clips. They just get better. So it looks like the first clip is longer, and then after that clip, Michael begins to break it down into the segments. Now sharing screen.
Do we want to narrate what we think they're saying?
We can go ahead and do that after we play them, certainly.
Excellent response. Keeper and audience response. From the junction. The show today the father. I have it out. Living with one Indian friend. Tell this just really living as different. Sweetheart, subscribe to your favorite here house. Yes, it's a ghost friend.
It's a little fast. I'm going to play it again, and then we're going to show some of the segments that Michael broke down.
Excellent response. Keeper and audience response. From the junction. The show today the father. I have it out. Living with one Indian friend. Tell this just really living as different. Sweetheart, subscribe to your favorite here house. Yes, it's a ghost friend.
Now we're going to break it down.
Excellent response. Excellent response. Excellent response. Excellent response.
Why don't we go ahead and ask the people in the chat if they have an interpretation or if they happen to hear anything. We don't want to put any pressure on you, and it is a work in progress, but it would be kind of an interesting test to see what you guys think you hear.
Excellent response. Excellent response. Excellent response. Excellent response. Excellent response.
I could tell there's a delay in the chat, so by the time you guys tell us what you hear, we'll be moving on to the next one, but it'll be interesting to go back on the video and see. Moving on to the next clip.
Keeper and audience response. Keeper and audience response. Keeper and audience response. Keeper and audience. Keeper and audience. Keeper and audience. Keeper and audience response. Keeper and audience response. 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 Keeper and audience response.
Gonna go ahead and play the next segment.
From the junction. From the junction. From the junction. From the junction. From the junction.
Let's do something cool here.
From the junction.
That was kind of cool. Here we go. Play it again.
Junction. From the junction. From the junction. From the junction. From the junction. 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 From the junction.
Okay, I'm going to put it back to normal speed. Actually, they're all probably a little bit fast. Let's go ahead and play the next one.
Sweetheart, subscribe to your favorite here house. 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 Sweetheart, subscribe to your favorite here house.
I think the clearest part at the end of that clip is hear us.
It's a ghost friend. It's a ghost friend. It's a ghost friend. It's a ghost friend. Appear to explore your rituals file. Appear to explore your rituals file.
One more clip. All right. Stop sharing screen.
It's like a pop quiz.
I'm not sure how well it comes through the audio, on the other end, but we should
I can
provide
hear
these
pretty
clips for
well.
download. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should provide these clips for download probably. Put them on the forum and then give people a link so that they'll be able to take a look at them. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions you would like to ask Michael? I think I'll go ahead and ask him one that I think people would want to know. So, Michael, you indicated that you are trained in, or you have done some work with astral travel. Is that correct?
Yeah. So about 20 years ago, I started on a spiritual quest as an angsty 20-year-old, having a fear of death. I found out on the internet about out-of-body experiences and started trying them, and it worked out pretty well for me. So for the last 20 years, I've been doing out-of-body experiences. One of the things that I specialize in when I do out-of-body experiences is something called spirit retrievals, which is the idea that we as humans, physical living humans, are volunteered to help out spirits that get stuck in the astral, move forward into the heaven plane. And actually, one of the reasons why I started doing this ITC stuff is my projection experiences were starting to go down, but I wanted to continue helping out in spirit. So I thought if I could develop some sort of electronic communication, I could help out that way.
To what degree do you think your ability to astral travel, or your knowledge of things that you experience while performing that practice, to what degree do you think that has an effect on your work with ITC?
Well, it's not as good as I would like it. Let's keep it that way. What I would like is when I go out and I do my projections, to meet up with the team that I work with the electronic communications and be able to talk with them, exchange technical ideas, and come back with all new plans and ideas. In reality, I sometimes get visions of what a possible future could be for our spirit communication devices, like being able to hear clear voices. I will get vague ideas of things, and generally speaking, if I ask people in the spirit world if they know who I am, I would say that that sometimes people do recognize me. Maybe not by my face, but if I tell them my nickname, expert or something, they're like, oh, we know who you are. So I'd like to believe that this is all some sort of encouragement towards a goal, but I probably believe my projections more than my day-to-day, than whether or not we're going to come up with a really clear device. But I'm hoping that the two will merge at some point, and I'll get more technical ideas from the spirit world.
You seem to indicate that you're under the impression that you have a team of people in spirit that work directly and closely with you. What led you to that impression?
Well, at the beginning, I was working with basically a receiving team, which sounded like a group of Europeans that maybe during their physical life were military communicators. It then evolved into hearing specific names of ancestors, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. So yeah, I hear certain names that if I go back into my family tree, they tend to repeat those names.
Thank you. So we're at halfway through the hour. I guess it's time to go ahead and listen together. What do you guys think? Let's go ahead and listen to stream 8. This particular stream, Michael does not run it 24/7. Actually, I don't. It's not the stream that he can't run. It's that device, that box that he showed you. So it's Michael. How long do you think it'll be available after tonight, the ending of tonight's stream? For
I'll
people
try to keep it
experiment?
on till tomorrow afternoon if I can, if it
Okay.
doesn't overheat or start a fire.
So, for anybody that wants to listen to that live stream and do your own experiments, perhaps see if you can have someone, give you an answer or reply to your conversations with them, you can go to Varanormal.com. At the top, there's a link that says Streams. It will be Stream 8. Ignore the descriptions. They change so quickly that I haven't updated it. But you'll be able to play the live stream from your cell phone, your tablet, or your desktop. On to Stream 8, Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning, live from Michael's house. Here we go.
Let's see if it's not glitching.
I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to try to change the output of VLC media players so that we can actually record the audio. And if we hear particular segments, we might be able to go back and play them live.
Yeah, I want to comment. Actually, so I'm always hacking away at my thing, and of course I have backups of other of all the different devices and configurations. But today I'm specifically using a new algorithm that I just came up with literally a few hours ago, which is I'm taking a single person's voice. In this case, it's the voice of General David Petraeus giving a 30-minute speech in front of Congress. And I'm using that to train all of my machine learning. And the idea is that we should only then hear one type of voice come out all the time, rather than, say, male, female, or a mix of both. So it's a crazy new idea that I'm trying. And so is going to sound a little bit different than let's say, our recorded clips. But it's something fun and.
Let's see if I have the ability to play and record. If we don't, then we'll just continue and everybody can focus on the audio. If you have the ability to record, maybe whip out your cell phone and just record the audio as it's coming out of your computer if you're viewing from the computer. Actually, on most phones, you could play the audio. If you're watching on a phone, you can play it through loudspeaker, and then you can use an app to record. That would be ideal. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay, now let's see if we are able to listen back.
But the spirit's on the spot there.
Well, it'll be much easier for us to break it down. Break it down. All right, we're going to share screen too, share audio. Let me see what it's outputting to. Playback devices, speakers. Let me know, Michael, if you can hear it when I press play. Actually, no.
So one of the questions that people were asking is how do we know if it's paranormal? And the way I think of it is that if it's not really clear to me, then I just ignore it. And that way, I'm not sitting there just making up stuff.
Let's see if I have the ability to play this. I might not, given the current setup. Let's give it a shot. Sharing. Alright. Can you hear me also as I talk, Michael?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Let's begin the breakdown. Volume up. Me, that sounds like they're saying he's creating magic.
Hear the word opt.
What's that?
Hear the word opt.
What's the word?
Optimum.
Optimum. Right here, just a second ago.
Right around here.
Okay. Let me go back a second. There's multiple people talking, but the phrase actually here is "can't believe it." It's part of a sentence before we get on to the section that Michael says he heard. So this is actually a full sentence. Actually, right here. You'll notice it actually appears distinct as a break, which is kind of nice. Let's play this clip. On to the section Michael was speaking about. Heard the word recording. Let's break it down. It's a little fast there.
Yeah, I can't understand that part, but I hear like I believe it.
That's the part, one of the parts we mentioned earlier. It appears to be similar to the name of Jesus. I believe I heard my name here. It's difficult to hear my name, especially when it's only one syllable. Other names like Michael are much easier to hear. Tell each of these are phrases.
Okay, so I hear interval something and a whole thing.
Can you repeat that, please? Sorry to
I hear the interval and then I hear the whole thing. What you just
People and pulsing.
No, interval.
Your audio cuts out.
Oh, interval.
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 Thank you.
Yeah.
Interval. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it right here? Or previously? Let's go back.
Yeah, just
Right. It does sound similar to interval. Kind of sounds like they say this is not a prank, but the first couple words are. That word is a schedule, which is what we are doing today. This is a schedule, live broadcast. Let's see what the entire phrase is.
so I hear the word and
Please speak louder into the mic so we can hear what you said.
voice.
The audio is still not coming through properly. Voice and
Evidence.
evidence. Okay.
I hear the word
What's the word?
working. I wish I had a chat. I could type in.
Oh, didn't realize that you did. The word capable is in here also. Cycles of something are more capable. Let's go back. I hear sense, and Dave and someone else talks with him. Let's look at it slowed down. It's the programming, technical, and then I didn't catch the rest. You might be able to hear it a little bit better that way when it's raised in pitch. All right, let's go back and provide it in context. Can I ask you guys in chat what you think this phrase is? Michael, don't say anything. And play it for you. Let's see. It's actually kind of hard to tell there because it's a little skewed. Let's go back. It's pretty fast. Let's take a closer look. Sounds like closer to the physical for me. We're going to hurry up and run through this pretty quickly now since we're approaching the end of the hour. This phrase is kind of interesting. We don't really talk about it much. We are aware that Nikola Tesla has been involved with various people, whether it be mediums or people that work in ITC. In this particular phrase, the voice begins to change and someone says something to the effect of Tesla speaking. This phrase is your results. This is actually a sentence. The your results portion is right here. Or hear results. Okay.
So one thing I wanted to add real quick is that so I think Keith goes into a lot more detail when he listens to streams. I often will record a minute, I'll just zip through it, and if I hear some words, great. But one interesting positive evidence is that Keith and I tend to hear similar comments.
Separately.
Separately on our own streams. So we both hear Tesla. We both hear discussions about Facebook, television. So there's certain things that we seem to be hearing, even though our attunement is completely different, and we might hear different things. But it suggests to me that we're picking up on some sort of consistent source.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We're now coming to a close for the day. Let me step back so my head's not massive. We thank you for joining us. This is our second live Friday night broadcast brought to you by Varanormal. We would like to do all kinds of cool stuff, including live streams. We have many concepts and ideas. We would like you to tell us what your ideas are for a live stream and what your questions are related to ITC techniques or methods. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok at Varanormal. We would like to reach a certain amount of followers so that we could stream there. So it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. We would appreciate it if you would consider sharing and or liking our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, Varanormal. And don't forget to visit our website, which is varanormal.com. We have a forum there that's starting to become more active. We go in depth into a lot of different ITC techniques. We share new things, and it's built for all of us, including you. So we would love to see you come share either your results from the stream or just come in and say hi. But we are very approachable, and we would love to continue doing this with and for ourselves and for spirit. One last thing. If you would like to listen to the live stream right now, please go ahead and go to varanormal.com. Here in a second, I'll put the link in the live chat. You go to varanormal.com. At the top, there's a button that says Streams. Scroll down to the one that says Stream 8. Click on Play. Have fun experimenting. And this has been brought to you by Varanormal. We'll see you next week. Varanormal, where paranormal is normal. And thank you. And thanks to Michael, and thanks to our chat moderators for participating and assisting. See you next week.